Tia Carrere, congratulations on the success of the live-action version of Lilo and Stitch. What is it about the story and the characters that you think still stands up among another generation of young viewers?
Stitch has never gone anywhere. I think it's a perennial favorite. Every summer, people buy the merchandise at the Disney stores. We see it on Disney TV. So I think at the core of it, it's that we're all a little different, and it just takes time for us to find our tribe, and that families where you find it. So Stitch found his family in this unlikely duo. These two girls that lost their family in essence, found their family with Stitch also. So it's just a beautiful story about you know people finding each other and love healing all.
Now, to this day, the original animated version is recognised for prominently featuring Hawaiian and Pacific culture in a way that isn't just stereotypical or tokenistic. You've had a wide and varied career, but as a proud Hawaiian woman, where does the role of Nani sit for you?
It's really close to my heart because I was invited into the creative process by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois, the directors of the animated feature. They asked me, "Oh, how do you feel about the part of Nani, and how would you approach her?" And I said, in Hawaii, there's a certain cadence of speech that is pidgin English, Pidgin, and it's this accent that local people have that is born of all the different cultures coming to work the plantations in Hawaii and not understanding each other's languages. And so we have this sort of broken English that came together that became Pidgin English. And that also in that key scene where I have to say goodbye to my sister, Lilo, that social services has taken her away the next day. They said, "How would you say that in Hawaiian? What's a phrase in Hawaiian?" I said, there's a song of love and farewell written by Queen Lilo Okalani, our last reigning queen, that I think really summarizes the pain of loss and having to say goodbye to your loved one. And that's the most famous song in the world, Aloha Oi. And I sang it for them, and they loved it. So I'm so happy that I got to sing in the animated feature, and that Sydney gets to sing it in this film, and they kept that in the film.
Let's go all the way back to your first big screen role. You were 17 and shopping at a grocery store in Waikiki when you were approached by the parents of a film producer who suggested you for the female lead in a movie called Aloha Summer. At this point, you'd never done any acting before. Talk us through that abrupt introduction to showbiz. How do you prepare for something like that?
Fortunately, I had done some singing, so I'd performed on stage, and I wasn't afraid of an audience. So I think that helps a lot. But it was just, I don't know, maybe just youth and stupidity and the lack of fear. I just made pretend, which is what all we have ever have to do on film. At its core, the reason why people go to acting classes is that they have to learn how to tear away the facade and the mannering that our families or grown-ups teach us. Is like, you have to be polite, you have to be quiet, you have to deny your impulses to get up and act crazy. It's like that we learn that behavior. So in acting class, you just strip it away and make pretend. So I just went in and made pretend. And fortunately, I was really like a shy local Hawaiian girl that falls in love with a Caucasian Casanova, and that wasn't too far from who I was at the time. So I just made pretend. That's it. But it changed my life.
Now, early in your career living in Los Angeles, you landed a string of TV roles, but you also encounter a lot of casting agents who say they weren't looking to go ethnic or exotic for particular roles. At the time, how much of you accepts that it's just a harsh reality of the business, and how much of you wants to fight against it?
I think there are, when a piece is written, if there are kids to be cast and the parents, look a certain way, and you know, now fortunately there's more diversity in that thinking. In that, okay, so maybe the kids are Caucasian, but the stepmom could be somebody that looks like me, or I could have, kids that pull more towards their father's side, as we've seen, in the genetic makeup of all the people that are currently in our society. So I think there's, because of the success of movies like Wayne's World and, Lilo and Stitch, that people in Hollywood have seen that financially it makes sense to cast someone that looks like me. And the movie can make $1 billion, and you don't have to worry about sort of shooting to the middle. That we can make movies that look differently from each other, and there can be casts of people that don't all look the same. So I think in the past 40 years, the business has changed a great deal, thankfully.
So we come to the early 90s where you're presented with a bit of a dilemma. You're on the cusp of landing a role on Baywatch, which at one point becomes the most popular television show in the world, but you turn it down after landing the role of Cassandra Wong in Wayne's World. What was it about Cassandra that stood out to you more?
Well, when I read Wayne's World, nobody knew what Wayne's World was. But I remember when I read Scaramouche, Scaramouche, can you do the fandango? It just made me laugh out loud because, I love Queen. And I just thought, this is the most bizarre and original movie I've ever read. And I thought there's nobody that can, because they asked specifically Asian female 18 to 23 can sing like Pat Benatar, I think it was, and rocks out, kicks butt, and that could act it and do the comedy. And I didn't know anybody else that could do it but me, so it was a moment of me saying it will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine.
Absolutely. And one of my favourite scenes is where Wayne impresses Cassandra by speaking Cantonese. Now, you and Mike Myers are not native Cantonese speakers, and Mike definitely plays up the conversation for laughs. It's interesting going through today's chatter about whether that scene is funny or it's cringy or it's a bit of both. In an era where things are much more PC these days, how do you look back on that sequence?
I thought it was adorable that this, guy from Chicago that had no exposure to anybody like me thought enough to learn how to speak my language, that he loved her so much that he stretched. And at the heart of it, that's what it is that he stretches to be a better person and to be more than he was to get Cassandra, his dream girl. And the fact that his dream girl looked like me couldn't please me anymore, because ultimately, if it wasn't written specifically that way by Mike Myers and the Turners, and backed up by the producers and the studio, I'm afraid that Cassandra might have looked more like Cameron Diaz or Drew Barrymore or any of the other stars at the time. So I think it all conspired to give me the perfect role at the perfect time, and I loved every minute of it.
Now, that role opened up all sorts of doors for you. The one that gets highlighted the most is when you dance with Arnold Schwarzenegger and you fight Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies. But up to this point, you've shared the screen with the likes of Brandon Lee, Sean Connery, Christopher Walken, among many others. Was there a moment or an interaction on any set that's stuck with you?
Oh gosh, each and every memory is like a gem that I put away in my treasure chest. But I have to say, it was quite something working with the original James Bond, Sean Connery. And it was this, we were all there for the read through, the initial read through of Rising Sun. And it was, oh gosh, the director and Harvey Keitel, I mean, the Oscar nominated director of The Right Stuff, Harvey Keitel, Steve Buscemi, of course, Wesley Snipes, me, a bunch of incredible people. Um, and then the door open, we're all talking and whatever. And the door bursts open and in comes Sean Connery. And just a moment of hush came over this huge 20-person conference table, and then he said something funny and laughed, and everybody laughed along and we could carry on. But it was that moment where I realized, wow, that's what it feels like to be in the midst of film, a film legend like him. And I couldn't be more pleased that I came in the morning and said, good morning, Shawnee, but good morning, Jill.
That sounds amazing. Another person that you've worked with was the now US President Donald Trump. You were a contestant on The Celebrity Apprentice. Your interactions with him were limited, but what's it been like for you watching Donald Trump become one of the most powerful people in the world?
It's difficult because I believe in the loose way that he speaks, he becomes a platform for people to spout so much hatred and fear. And I think that it doesn't help our country come together and be the United States of America. So it's difficult for me to see all this division and pain. And I'm more like, can't we all just get along? Can't we all look at each other's sides? I mean, I have friends who are Democrats. I have friends who are Republicans. My Democratic friends say, how could you talk to that guy? He's such a right-wing guy. And my, right-wing friends go, how could you talk to them? They're so woke. I can't stand it. It's like, there's got to be a middle ground where we can't just um, hate on each other. There's got to be and I think that there's a lot of problems in the algorithm in the internet that people get their news from different sources and they get further and further apart so that we can't see each other's sides and we can't imagine what it would be like to be on the other side of the aisle. And I think that we need more of that and less of the division. Maybe it's Pollyanna of me, but I want us all to get along. There's got to be some middle ground, and I think that as the leader of the free world, that maybe sometimes if he was a little more careful in the way he phrased things, it would help us with so much anger and division. And I hope he realizes that.
So you'll be coming to Australia to discuss various highlights from what is an impressively diverse body of work. Is there anything left on your to-do list that you'd still like to tackle a bit further down the track?
Well, I've written a small dramatic film that I'm going to shoot in Hawaii, and I'm looking to be more in the driver's seat with this one, writing it, producing it, directing it, starring in it. And it's just a little tiny movie, but it's so meaningful to me. And it's a lot of heavy lifting, but I believe at this point in my career, after 41 years, I'm up to the task. So now the hard part of finding the financiers.
Well, we wish you all the best with that, and we hope that you enjoy your time in Australia. Tia Carrere, thank you so much for your time and for giving us so many great works to look back on.
Thank you. Aloha. Go see Lilo and Stitch.